instead of paying me a gambling debt he owed me, decided to attempt to murder me, and he shot me in the back of the head. Being shot in the back of the head was the easy part, as my life spiraled out of control with depression, drug addictions, and even a prison sentence. I always felt alone. Always. No matter if I was with 1,000 people, I felt alone. Perhaps happens because we forget how bad it is.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Auto Guide Podcast. My name is Daniel Luco. I'm your host, and today I have the pleasure of having here John Carter. I think the podcast. I do this for you guys to listen to these people that have gone through struggles just like you and me, so that you guys can hear every story and the things that they have learned. So today, I think it's gonna be a great episode. So, John, can you please introduce yourself to the audience?
How you doing, guys? My name is John, like Daniel was saying me. Um, I would like to explain how my life started before I get into my problem that arose. I was raised in a very unconventional childhood, Daniel. My father was in the mafia, the mob. And Daniel, I love my dad. He was the best father in the world. He was there for me all the time. And he hid what he was doing from us, so we didn't realize it was a crime thing that he was doing. We just knew he was a loving dad, and I loved him so much. And so when he passed away, Daniel, I wanted to wear his shoes. I wanted to be like him, but I was not his size. So immediately, Daniel, I found myself in a world of trouble. This man, instead of paying me a gambling debt he owed me, decided to attempt to murder me, and he shot me in the back of the head. And Daniel, and my story, being shot in the back of the head was the easy part, as my life spiraled out of control with depression, drug addictions, and even a prison sentence, Daniel.
I think there's a lot to dig in. You know, wow, being shot back in the back of the head is like, and I cannot imagine what you went through.
Hmm.
And that's what the reason that I do this podcast, because sometimes we think we are alone in this world. But the more I listen to people and the more I read, the more I watch, the more I say to myself, the things that I went through, and even though they were hard, they're nothing compared to other stories, right? Each one of us, and that's why I bring guests just like you to the podcast so that people can learn from you. So I want to start with that. And is there a specific moment in that journey? You know, I went through many ups and downs, but was there a specific one when you felt that you were at the bottom of the bottoms?
Oh my God, I felt I was at the bottom a lot of times. But the part where I really felt I was at the bottom, see, Daniel, when I got shot in the head, I entered a coma. And I was in a coma for 90 days. And on top of the coma, I did 6 more months in the hospital. So a total of 9 months. And this is where depression really set in, Daniel, and I felt alone. When I was in the hospital, I was around people all the time. I was getting help, people helping me. I felt good. When I got discharged from the hospital and I went home, and I entered my basement apartment, and I was alone, Daniel. I was sitting in my wheelchair, and depression really took over real quick. Before I knew it, I was 330 pounds, sitting in a wheelchair because I kept eating and eating. Before long, I added alcohol to that. And not long after that, I added cocaine to that. Now I'm sitting in my apartment in a wheelchair, weighing 330 pounds, addicted to alcohol and drugs. My life was a mess. But Daniel, I couldn't afford my drug habit no more. So my bright idea, after being shot in the head, was to become a drug dealer. So now I'm sitting in a wheelchair dealing drugs. And this didn't last too long because the police did not find this too amusing. So, boom, my door gets kicked in. A bunch of cops come rushing through my apartment. And that's when I said to myself, whew, it was like a relief, Daniel. I couldn't believe I felt good about this was happening to me. I remember the cop looking at me. What are you smiling about? What are you're in a lot of trouble here. And I said, sir, you just don't understand how low my life is. I thought it was over. So they arrest me, Daniel, and they bring me to prison. But in prison, I was released on bail. Daniel, are you there? I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm here. I'm here.
I'm sorry. My computer got mixed up.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, there you are. So, anyways, I got released on bail after they arrested me, and I'm sitting in a parking lot weighing 330 pounds in a wheelchair, no drugs, no money, nowhere to go. Daniel, I was a lost soul. So my brother-in-law, who was with me, said you need to start with getting sober. So I said, that's a good idea. I guess I'll try that. So he took me to a detox. And Daniel, in detox, I started feeling better about myself. I was coming around. The drugs were getting out of my system. I was getting more clearer. But Daniel, I was not alone. I had all these social workers and a lot of help going on me. So I knew I wanted to stay sober. But if you want to stay sober in a detox, you have to go on for more treatment onto a halfway house. But to go to a halfway house, you need to be accepted. So I go to a halfway house. I'm going to be interviewed to be accepted to this halfway house. And this is where I met a person that changed my life, Daniel. I'm sitting in the room waiting for the executive director of the halfway house to interview me. She comes walking in, and I could see there was something wrong with her. Something was off. So she sits down and she proceeds to tell me her story. How she was in a cocaine accident 30 years prior to this, and this was in 1994, Daniel. I got sober October 15th, 1994. So I'm sitting in there and she's telling me this, and I'm looking at her, and I was in awe. I could not believe she got out of that wheelchair. Daniel, that wheelchair was like hell. And this is the first person I ever seen witness getting out of a wheelchair like that. And I couldn't believe it. And she was happy and she was glowing, but she had a lot of problems, but she was glowing. And I said to myself, I want this. I want what this woman has. So Dana, she became my God, so to speak. Everything she said, I followed to a T, and she helped me. But Dana, just because you get sober does not mean all your problems go away. I still had this court case hanging over my head for this drug offense. So Deb takes me to court, and I remember saying to myself, you know, I'm in a wheelchair. I'm with Deb. This is my first offense. This judge is going to have the leniency on me. He is going to be very kind to me. Daniel, I remember rolling up, sitting in front of him. He was about 90 years old. And he said, Mr. Carter, he said, we do not discriminate in this courtroom. You will get the same sentence any drug dealer gets. Daniel, he gave me 10 years. And at the time, and it changed to gratitude, but at that time, I was so mad and angry. I couldn't believe he was putting a guy in a wheelchair in with a bunch of mass murderers and felons. I couldn't believe this. I was so scared. But I trusted Deb. And Deb looked at me. She said, John, a lot of people in your shoes would run. She said, face your fears. You're not alone. We're going to help you. So, like I was telling you, Daniel, I listened to every word she said. So, off to prison I went. I thought it was this, tough guy from the mob. Daniel, I hit that jail cell. That big metal door clanked behind me. I was in a cell no bigger than the bathroom. And I'm saying 10 years of this. Daniel, I cried like a baby and I broke down and cried and cried and cried. I couldn't believe I put myself in this situation. Daniel, the next morning, the doors open. 3 convicts enter my cell. I said, oh my God, I'm an easy target. I'm in a wheelchair. I've heard of all the stories, what's going on there. I said, I'm in big trouble. And they say to me, we're friends of your dad's, and we're here to help you. I couldn't believe it. And they said, we're going to start with getting rid of that wheelchair. Daniel, for weeks and months, they took me to that prison gym. They were training me. They were getting me stronger and stronger. I was using that wheelchair less and less. And who would have thought convicts in prison would have taught me this valuable lesson about fitness, which I'm into today, and I'll get into that. But this was the breakthrough. They taught me this. Now, Daniel, you talk a lot about being alone. Now, I'm in this little cell by myself, feeling good about myself. I couldn't understand it. And that's when I did investigations. I learned how the endorphins get released into your blood while working out and they make you feel better about yourself. I felt awesome about myself. But Daniel, recidivism in jail is a big problem. And I was naive, and it was a couple of years going by, and this is my first offense. I really didn't know too much. This guy that I used to see all the time, all of a sudden I didn't see him anymore. Months go by, and then I see him again. I said, what happened? Where'd you go? And he said, I made parole. And I didn't understand what that meant, what he was saying. They let him out, and because he wanted to use drugs and had a dirty urine, he got violated and had to come back to prison. And he's sitting there telling me the story, and he's smiling. I'm like, oh my God. So I knew I didn't want this. I knew I did not want jail part of my life. So I go back to my cell that night. I'm talking to my dad who's in heaven. And I said, Dad, please help me here. What do I do? And that's when I remembered a lesson he taught me. And he taught me lots of lessons. And I wrote that in my book, Triggered to Change. And I'm a new author. And the lesson was fail to plan, plan to feel. I said, wow, I'm making a plan here. I am going to make a plan. So that day, I get on the phone with Deb from the halfway house. And she says, I've been waiting for this call. All you need to do is ask. You're not alone. We're going to help you. Of course you can come back. And Daniel, thank God, because I was 32 years old, getting out of prison with $100 and a bus ticket. My chances of survival, if I went back to my hometown, would have been zero. So I went back to the halfway house with Deb so she could re-enter me in society. And thank God, because that was back, that was, I got released from prison in 2001. And now, because I've stayed sober and I made a plan, I'm a proud father, I'm a single dad, I own my own gym now. 13 years I've been in business, all because of staying sober and doing the right thing, Daniel. And that
Incredible
was
story.
where my
So incredible story. I think there's a lot of things that can be learned from this story. And one of the things that you mentioned was the person that helped you. And sometimes in life, we find those people out of nowhere. And for me, in my own journey, one of my friends that I knew him before, but we never talked to each other again after like 4 or 5 years. He came back to my life, and along with him, he brought along his brother, and both of them were key in my recovery from those surgeries and everything. So I would love to
Daniel,
hear.
I'm sorry. The three screens came up again. I can't hear you.
I
Oh,
think
what
you're
the hell's
entering
going
again
on?
the. I think please stay on the same tab. Don't juggle around the computer.
Right, perfect. Yeah, that I can't see you, but that's okay.
Okay, then
I can
let's
hear you.
let's
That's
leave it like
fine.
that. So
Sure,
okay, perfect. So I'm gonna do it again.
sure.
I find it incredible your journey. There's a lot of things that I believe that can be learned, and one of the things that you mentioned was that person that helped you along the way, the halfway house. That person we often find it out of nowhere. Those for me in my own journey. An example of that is one of my friends that I met him a couple of years back, but we didn't talk until much later, 6 years later. Then he came to my house again by coming with my cousin, and along with him, he brought his brother, and both of them have played a key role in my recovery from the surgeries. So sometimes we meet the people that we need along the way, and sometimes we find it amazing of how they come to it, how they come to us. And for you, it was that person at the halfway house, and you didn't expect that help at the prison cell, right? But all those things happen for some reason, and they come for some reason into your life. For me, those friends that came into my life, they helped in my fitness life. And I think that's a topic that we can talk about later. But what was the biggest lesson that you learned in that journey that you would like to share with the audience?
Daniel, you talk about people helping me. In my book, I write a lot of the people that have helped me along the way. I've had so much help. And when that judge gave me 10 years and I told you I was so angry, and I got to rectify that because that became I was very grateful to him. When I seen that recidivism, and I realized, this judge did me a favor by letting me come in here and learn my lesson. He didn't give me a slap on the wrist where I probably wouldn't have learned the lesson. I learned a valuable lesson here. I actually wrote that judge a letter from prison. He wrote me back. I couldn't believe a judge took the time to write me a letter wishing me good luck and I can do this. He gave me the inspiration. I've had so many people throughout my journey, from the convicts and prison that taught me fitness, from Deb to from the halfway house, the judge, the cops who arrested me, my clients that I have in my fitness world. Everybody's trying to help me. It's awesome. And I'm eternally grateful. Daniel, I have a lot of problems. I have a lot of things I can't do. But Daniel, one thing I don't have a problem with is being grateful. I love my life. I love the people around me, Daniel. And it's all due from staying sober.
I agree with that. I'm also in part of being grateful. In my book that has not been released yet, but is in the works, I talk about being grateful for the things that we have. Sometimes we take them for granted. I've spoken this about in my previous podcast about being grateful, how we can practice that, and being grateful and realizing that the things that the thing that happened to you has made you the person that you are today. If you got a slap on the wrist, you wouldn't have done the same lesson. But if you
Correct.
went to prison and did everything in there, you went through the hardship, and that's when you learn. So
Oh,
I think that's important for all of us to do. Be grateful and realize all the things that we have, and and the things that we are able to achieve now because of the things that we went through before.
very well said, Daniel.
What would you like to say to the person that's hearing this podcast is also struggling with addiction?
First of all, Daniel, like my shirt says, never give up. Never give up. Daniel, especially in recovery, there are people that want to give back. Like myself, I love helping. When you're struggling, hearing inspirational stories like I am, and that's why I got a really unbelievable Daniel for what you do. You give people like me a chance to help the other addicts. And by helping them tell my story, Daniel, I'm helping myself stay sober. See, I strongly believe relapse happens because we forget how bad it was. I'm not going to forget because I keep telling my story. I'm not going to forget how bad that day in detox was back in 1994. But if I stop telling my story and I stop keeping it up front, I forget how bad it was. Oh, that wasn't that bad back in 94. I can do that again. And before you know it, you're in the weeds and you'll be lucky if you make it back. Daniel, I've had two brothers die of overdoses, and I've had lots of friends die of overdoses. This this disease that we have is no joke. Daniel, and I gotta tell you about my brother. I was in prison, and my older brother, he was sober for like 5 years. And I remember my mom coming up and saying to me, your brother relapsed. Can you please talk to him? So I remember getting on the phone with him and saying, George, I can get you help because I had connections from Deb in the halfway house. So I had connections. I said, George, I can get you help right now. And he said, I got things to wrap up. I got work. I got this. I'll do it at the end of the week. Daniel, that was the last time I ever talked to my brother. We are not promised tomorrow. Get help, ask for help, and do it today. Do it now.
I
That's
agree
my
with that.
recommendation.
I agree with that. When I went through my journey, I didn't reach for help, but I was able to get help from God. I don't know if you believe or not, but that's out of the topic. But what I suggest in the people in my book, and what I suggest to people here, and like you said, seek help. Find that person that you trust. It doesn't have to be a psychologist. It doesn't
No,
have to
exactly.
be a priest. It has to be someone that you trust. It can be your mom, your sister, your brother, your friend, someone that you trust, but you need to speak it out, right? You
That's
cannot
right.
hold it too long. So seek help. That's something that I think both of us agree on, and then that people should do here. Doesn't matter the level of the thing you have done. If you are struggling, seek help. That's gonna
And
help you
Daniel,
a lot.
people in our shoes, they want to help. That's our life. I love helping the newcomer. So if you just ask, you're gonna get the help you need. You will get the help you need
A hundred
because
percent.
that's right, Daniel.
So I know you talk about fitness and how it helped you. What motivated you to use fitness as a source of fighting an addiction? And I know that you're a personal trainer today, so can you please tell us more about that?
Sure. Well, it started in prison. The three convicts that came to my cell, and I had never worked out before. I had no clue. So when they came and they showed me, and I felt good about. I knew I wanted to keep doing this. So when I got out of prison, my first job was just a get well job, selling newspapers on the corner, and Daniel, I loved it. You know, I would have to. I was in jail making 50 cents a day. Now I'm making. I was 32. I'm making $7 an hour, and people are like, "Only $7? What are you happy about?" I said, "You that this is beautiful." I would have to walk to work. I have to be there at 5 in the morning. I remember I would stop over the bridge where the water flows, and not a sound, no cars, and I would just look up at my God and I would say, "Thank you so much. This is awesome, awesome, Daniel." And I loved it. But from there, I knew I wanted to be a personal trainer. So I kept looking for work and looking for work, and no gyms would give me the time of day, Daniel. I talk with a slur, I walk with a strange gait, so they weren't paying attention to me. Now, Daniel, you talk a lot about being alone. I always felt alone. Always. No matter if I was with 1,000 people, I felt alone.
Technical difficulties.
So, like I was saying, that conversation was a few minutes. And he said, I have some time because it's out of my office. Now, this conversation was over an hour long. I told my whole story. And he looked at me and he said, "Can you start tomorrow?" And I was flabbergasted. Daniel, I still didn't tell him about my prison sentence. So this is where I was like, oh my God, now what am I going to do? So I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to be honest and I'm going to go for it. So I told him my whole prison sentence, my whole story. Without batting an eyelash, he looked at me and said, "Can you start tomorrow?" I said, I just told you I'm an ex-felon. What do you mean? He said, "First of all," he said, "thank you for being honest. And second of all," he said, "I just wish my mom was alive to listen to you." His mom had passed away a few years ago of alcoholism. And he said to me, he said, "If she heard your story, you might have inspired her to stop drinking." And that's when it started. And that I got my first job and I never looked back. So
Hey,
then again, Daniel, people in your life that are helping you. I mean, what? He just gave an ex-felon a job. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it.
well, people like us have to go out of our way to help people that are just starting this. That's the whole reason of the podcast, right? That's the reason to listen to different guests, different stories, so that people out there can obtain those stories and learn those lessons before they have to, they go through deeper struggles and they can adjust their lifestyles. And I'm talking
Daniel,
about
Dan,
adjusting. Sorry.
you say, very importantly, you always say that there are people that have it worse. Daniel, I watch this woman every day. She goes by my gym. She's blind. She's walking with the stick. She's smiling. And I say to myself, I can't even make it to the bathroom in the dark. This woman is going through life in the dark. Who am I to complain? I mean,
Of course.
hello, oh my god, And I think I have it bad. This woman, I mean, really. And she finds people that have it worse. I'm sure she, I'm sure she runs into people and she says to herself, maybe I don't have it so bad.
Yeah, for sure. That person that is blind doesn't get to see like this the sun, the rain, the rainbow, anything. So that's going back to being grateful. That goes back to, we have the
Unbelievable.
eyesights, we have the mind, we are capable of doing everything that we set our minds to. So we have to be grateful and realize the things that we have. Right? If we go through life thinking of negative things will happen. But if we go in life thinking positively,
That's
every
right,
bump
buddy.
in the road will feel like you're flying 10,000 feet high
That's
in
right.
the sky. So that's the view of life. And with that, I want to hit you with another question, which would be, what is one practical thing that someone can start doing to improve their lifestyle?
The first thing you can do, Daniel, start working out. You're all gonna feel. I don't care what it is. Any kind of exercise that you're doing is gonna release the endorphins into your blood, and you start naturally feeling better. It's like a drug, like a high. You start feeling good about yourself. And so I personally work out at 6 in the morning. So right away, I'm doing something good for myself. I feel good about it. So I'm getting my day off on the right foot. And that's why they say make your bed in the morning, because you've done something positive to start your day. If you can do something positive to start your day, you're going to immensely increase your chances of being happy. And so that's my of course, don't drink. That'd be the one thing. Don't drink. But putting exercise into your life will definitely help you mentally. Never mind physically, mentally.
Sure, for me, it helped a lot. In my journey, I dropped 50 pounds in one surgery. Right? And
Really.
it wasn't a weight loss surgery. It was just an emergency surgery where I lost 50 pounds. And
Wow.
exercise was the thing that got me to that place where I feel depressed, that I was weak, that I was skinny and everything. It got me to the person that I am today. I'm in the best shape of my life.
That's
I love
awesome.
going to the gym.
That's a
I
great story right there, buddy. That's awesome. Good for you, Daniel.
Thank you, thank you. I go 6 days out of 7 days of the week to the gym. So I liked working out. And for people if that don't like to do exercise, you don't have to actually go to the gym, right? You can just go for a walk, get on
Exactly.
a bike ride. So, but
Boom.
doing physical exercise is gonna help
That's
you
right.
physically and mentally to get into that right place where you can start your day or you can end your day on the same note.
And that I realized mentally, it was so good for you mentally when I was in prison, when I was in my small cell, but feeling good about myself. When I connected the dots and I realized I'm feeling good because I'm working out. That's when it all took over and made sense. I didn't understand why I was feeling good about myself in the small cell for another 10 years. How do you feel good about yourself?
So, John, where can people follow you? Where can people learn about, buy your book, or get that personal training?
I have my author website, johncarterauthor.com. I'm sure you'll put it up. It has all my information on it. It has a TED Talk. I don't know if your listeners are into TED Talks, but I did a TED Talk. Uh, Daniel, and this is what motivated me to write my story. I did my TED Talk and I got a standing ovation. And I didn't believe I could do this. And this is when my friend said, "You're not alone. You can do this. We're going to train you." And for months, they came to my gym and they trained me how to put a speech together and talk. So my first time talking on stage, I got a standing ovation. So I knew I knew I needed to put my story in another format. So that's why I wrote my book, Triggered to Change. And this is on my website too. And the proceeds of this book, this is the best part. I walk with a service dog. I have a 200-pound Great Dane service dog. I volunteer for a charity. We raise, train, and donate Great Danes to the mobility impaired. So instead of me walking with a cane, I walk with my dog. He's a lifesaver for primarily for veterans and first responders get the priority. And it's so awesome to see a veteran come home wounded, not only get the physical support they need, but the mental support they need, the emotions. They're never alone. I'm never alone anymore. I got my dog with me 24 hours a day. He's my best friend. And the proceeds of this book are going to help my service dog project farm. And it's a great charity. So Daniel, you or any of your your viewers, if they could write me a review on Amazon, it's like gold. Reviews of my book on Amazon, and I have 145 5-star reviews. Daniel, coming from a man that earned his GED in prison, I'm damn proud of that, Daniel.
Oh, I'm proud of you too.
Thank
I
you,
might be
buddy.
younger, but I'm proud of you too.
Thank
I'm
you,
proud
buddy.
of the journey that you went through and, writing a book. I know it's not easy. I did it myself. And, I commend you for all that work for being able to help others. And I think it's amazing what you're doing right now. I will leave all those links down in the description so people can follow you, get your book, and write the review. So I will leave all those links down in the description of the video so people can, go to those links. So John, before I end the podcast, is there anything else that you would like to leave for the audience?
Yes, Daniel, you told people you just need to ask for help. If any of your guests want any kind of inspiration or motivation, all my contact information you'll put up, and please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help and give a little advice where I can help. Just
Perfect,
stay
perfect. Me
sober.
too. If you're struggling too, I will leave all my contacts down in the description. Don't hesitate to ask either John or I for help. We have gone through our struggles. We know what it's like to be in the darkness, to be depressed, and to be out now in the light. That's the purpose of the Out of the Gray podcast. We're coming out of the gray into the light. But right now, I know what it's like to be on the gray. But Joy and I, thankfully, thank goodness, we are out of the gray and are into the light. So don't hesitate to ask. And before I end the podcast, please like, subscribe, comment, and share with the people that you love so we can keep sharing this podcast to the people around the world so that we can keep learning with each other and we can support each other. Well, thank you so much, John, for coming into the podcast, for being a guest. Is there anything else, John?
Hey, thank you so much, and God bless. And all you people, just stay positive. It'll all work out. Just get the help and stay positive. It will get better. Just stay sober and get help.
It's a good way to end the podcast. So God bless you all. Take care. Goodbye.
God bless.